evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon.
And I'm Sean Yao.
In a drug war had no common plan nor criminal intent, meaning no smoking gun in the ICC case.
The victim's lawyers, of course, believe otherwise. Using Duterte's very own words against him, the prosecution painted a drug war that was systematic, criminal, and so pervasive it even spawned a culture of impunity among millions of Filipinos.
And back here at home, threat of trial is also hanging over the head of Digong's daughter. On Monday, Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment complaints are up for deliberations at the House of Representatives for form and substance.
The term high-value target appears throughout the prosecution's brief, as though it is evidence of a coordinated plan to eliminate targets. With respect, that inference cannot be sustained. The existence of a prioritization category within a law enforcement campaign does not establish a criminal plan. HVT was an operational classification used by law enforcement, and in this sense, it is no different from a similar acronym in another country where I have clients. APOTS, or Australian Priority Organisation Targets. HVT is not a code for an instruction to kill or a witch hunt.
It's time for him to take responsibility for these crimes he brags about and glories in. Can we go to the next one quickly? I think I got about 3 minutes. James. This is tab 146.2. It's a quote from a speech on August 16th, 2017. What did he say? Quote, "I know I will have my own downfall. I cannot be president forever. I know that they will demand to answer for all that's dead." End quote. And he was right when he spoke those words. He must answer for the dead. The victims demand it, justice demands it, and for purposes of confirmation, the evidence demands it. We have proven it to the level for this to be bound over for trial. We ask you to do that, Your Honors.
It's day 4 and the final day of former President Rodrigo Duterte's confirmation of charges hearing at the International Criminal Court. The defense and prosecution have given their closing statements.
And later on, the pretrial Chamber 1 is also scheduled to review the detention of Mr. Duterte. That's if he will remain detained or granted interim release as the ICC deems necessary.
And joining us again from The Hague is One News anchor Angela Lagunsad Castro. Angela, what has been discussed so far?
Well, you're right. We're down to the fourth and final day of the confirmation of hearing of former President Rodrigo Duterte, and katatapos nga lang ng closing statements ng panig ng prosecution and the common legal representatives. It started from at 11:30 until 12:30. Right now, the hearing is on a break, and pag sila ay nag-resume by 2 o'clock. When they resume by 2 o'clock, the closing statement, we will be expecting closing statement from the defense. So right now we are joined by Attorney Nery Colmenares to give us update or reaction on the closing statements of the prosecution and the common legal representatives. Attorney, okay lang. We are joined by Ces Jalon and Sean Yao, the big story on One News.
Hi.
Okay, so
Ces at Sean.
Good evening.
Good evening from Manila. Were you,
Yes po.
Was the prosecution and the counsel for the victims were both able to demolish what the defense counsel had said in his closing statement?
Definitely. If there was a shattering of glasses, the shattering of glass, as they said yesterday, the broken glasses come from the defense. I just couldn't I was really surprised, but they were grasping at straws. That's what I would describe the defense arguments in the last today and even yesterday. Grasping at straws. Why? They keep on insisting that there is no liability on the part of President Duterte because there is no common plan. And if there is no common plan, then they went to say that the rogue cops did it. It was an opportunistic thing for the rogue cops to, animosity or corruption or cheating in cards. Now, for me, that's really President Duterte kept on saying during his presidency, you do everything I tell you, don't worry, o yung pupunta sa kulungan kung sakaling kakasuhan kayo. And now, his defense is saying, kasalanan nyo yun mga pulis. So, ang message sa mga pulis, tingnan nyo yung principal nyo na nag-utos sa inyo. Tapos ngayon sasabihin nyo, wala akong kanalaman dyan ha. Yung mga pulis na yan, yung gumawa niyan. They insisted it kahapon lalo na, sabi niya, sa barangay clearance operation, wala kayong proof na may command siya from above. Discretion na yun ng ground commanders, which is probably true in the sense, but the command has already been decided long before the barangay clearance. May drug list, implement nyo to, bahala na kayo. Hindi naman kilala ni Duterte yung mga drug addict or drug suspect or drug, syndicate sa barangay. So, parang grasping at straws talaga kasi parang ngayon bigla na lang baliktad ang depensa at sabihin na gawa-gawa lang yun ng mga rogue cops ang mga patayan na yun.
In other words, you're confident that this will go into a full-blown trial?
I think so. There's no way that the PTC will say, oh, there was no common plan pala. These are random acts of policeman who got up the wrong side of the bed this morning. So I don't think they will say there's no written order. That's what the prosecution just said. In crimes against humanity, there is really no written order. And he cited the example which he and Kaufman were together, and that is in the International Criminal Tribunal of the former Yugoslavia, wherein the issue of Srebrenica was mentioned. And he said, actually, no, they didn't really write it down in a legal paper and say kill. The order was given verbally to the selected, subordinate. So I think that the insistence that a written order be produced is really unrealistic on the part, especially since, for example, was there really a command on the part of Duterte per individual hitman to kill, like, say, if there's 7,000 targets, 7,000 hitmen? I don't think so. Hitler didn't personally command whoever is going to execute the German opposition or the LGBT in Germany and so on.
On all three charges,
I don't think the court will
attorney?
be convinced by that.
Okay. On all three
Yes.
charges, you think it will proceed to trial, and you think all three charges will be confirmed?
Yes. For me, that is, there is no way that the defense will be able to argue that the Davao Death Squads is just a name given by the media. Therefore, there is no such thing. I don't think the court will be convinced by that. And then the high-value target.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a high-value target in terms of priority. Priority for what? For us, it simply means priority for execution. And of course, the barangay clearance, that's where he said, oh, well, rogue cops in the barangay clearance, it's rogue cops kasi Duterte didn't personally order the barangay clearance and targeted the persons to be killed there. So it's really, for me, grasping at straws.
For the high value target, sabi ni Kaufman, 'di ba? It's a procedural framework. Even other countries have HVT.
Yes, correct. But the other countries interpreted it as priority for, say, arrest or detention or prosecution. But for Duterte, high-value target is precisely the Filipino way of saying target. Target ka. At sa Pilipino, pag sinabing target mo yan, ano yan, bibirahin ka talaga niyan. So,
Well, Attorney,
yes.
we still have to hear the closing statement of Attorney Nicholas Kaufman. That's what is remaining.
I got lost about the schedules. I thought
Yeah.
he was given He will still speak.
He will still speak.
I got lost there because the tribunal said, "Oh, you have 20 minutes." So anyway, even if he's going to do that, I think he will be remorseful. He mentioned a Supreme Court case where the lawyers in the petition are present. So he was really cut down to pieces by what Gilbert Andres said.
Attorney Gilbert Andres quoted a lot from that,
Yes.
what he called the
Yes.
notice of resolution of the Supreme Court, although it didn't give a final ruling, however.
Yeah, in the
Correct.
Noy case.
But there were lots of statements by the Supreme Court on the issue. Like, for example, is it a policy? Well, the Supreme Court said, well, you treated it as your accomplishment. So isn't that a proof that it is your policy to kill drug suspects in the sense, right? So I don't see how Kaufman will get away with this by. I think he was really saying, I don't know, but for me, if I'm looking at it from a legal point of view, for me that was a mistake. But of course, it's up for the defense to say whether they committed a mistake in citing on the record a Supreme Court decision, which was used on the record against them.
Attorney Kaufman also pointed out in particular to this supposed phone conversation overheard of former President Duterte giving an order,
Yes.
and said that
Well,
that was insufficient.
Yeah.
Well, he can claim insufficiency of evidence. First, there are many evidence with or without this testimony. Secondly, the testimony of a witness that it was President Duterte on the phone, for me, can be understood in the context of the Philippines. How would Duterte really order somebody? Is it face-to-face always? No. Duterte has always flaunted his power. Duterte has always been arrogant in terms of, I survived this for 40 years in Davao, I will survive this again. So he thinks he was invincible. And that's the problem with people who were in power for so long, untouched, like during the Arroyo days. They became careless. And so they would call and Kaufman said, do you think the President of the Republic would make a phone call? A simple phone call? Duterte doesn't really care. He even announces it in public TV, how much more is just a mere phone call. So there is a lot to learn on the part of the defense, on the context and the current conditions in the Philippines. And I think an argument that there was no order, no common plan, it was merely done by rogue cops for personal animosities, then I think they will fail. The court will confirm the charges.
Once again, the prosecution replayed the final speech, actually, of President
Yes.
Duterte before he was brought to The Hague. And could this be dismissed as bluster, this speech, where he said na itayo siya ng monumento sa tabi ni Rizal?
However the defense will say, it's just bluster, which has been all their argument all the while, di ba? Hyperbole lang yon. It's bluster, it's, a joke. Na sinatter naman ng prosecution yan and yung victims counsel na sa Pilipinas, presidente ka, what you say is isusundin yun. At ang policy statement ng presidente is in public, in media, not only in written terms, but in media. So, I guess yung pag sinabi nilang bluster, I think they will lose that one too, because I don't think the court will come out with a decision and say, it's actually just hyperbole, it's just a bluster, it's just a joke. He didn't really intend to kill people. I don't think the court will go that way.
Attorney, to circle back to your point about that phone call that a witness heard, some would say it's hearsay, and I think that was the point that Attorney Kaufman was trying to establish. He even gave other examples, bukod pa doon, even with what happened in the jail cell of Mayor Espinosa and Raul Yap. Ganun din po yung point niya. Is hearsay enough to bring this really to full trial, and you believe that it is?
It was very pathetic.
What the witness will testify is not hearsay in the sense that did that call actually, yes, witness can testify, yes, there was a call from the president. Of course, the defense will say, well, allegedly the president, but you don't know. well, at the very least, the witness can say that yes, there was a phone call from a person who is the mayor of Davao, as mentioned by the other, and I saw the phone call. Now, it's up for the defense and of course the prosecution to argue whether it's sufficient to prove it was Duterte or not. But I think a lot of people will tend to believe that, oh, of course, it's going to be Duterte. You cannot just, why would they even make it up? Like, oh, si Duterte yun. Hindi naman pala si Duterte, di ba? Di nabaril siya doon using the name of Duterte in vain, so to speak. Yeah. So anyway, yeah, but if they can, of course, question it again and again, but that's not even the only evidence at hand anyway.
Well, we thank you once again for your insights, Attorney Nery Colmenares. May we go back to Angela? One final question, Angela. What do you expect in the review of detention hearing, which will be happening right after the confirmation of charges hearing?
According to the legal luminaries here, it is nothing to worry about, no? Legal luminaries on the side of the victims, no? This is just a procedural requirement. And most probably, sabi nga ng mga victims, ano, hindi sila papayag na mag-grant ng interim release etong si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte kapag nagkaroon nga mamaya ng detention review. So later, pagbalik nila after the break, that's 2 o'clock until 3 o'clock is the slot, no, or the time for Attorney Kaufman for his closing statement. If we're going to follow the schedule that they released, no, and then 30 minutes will be allotted for the detention review of former President Vigo Duterte. Kanina, while you were talking to Attorney Nery Colmenares, dumating na rin, pabalik na rin sa loob sila Attorney Sal Panelo, former LTFRB Chairman Martin Delgra, and the former DOLE, no, Secretary Silvestre Bello III. Oo.
All right, we thank you for your update. One News anchor Angela Lagunsad Castro, reporting to us live from The Hague.
And here at home, the Duterte Panagutin Network continues to monitor proceedings at The Hague with an online viewing at the University of the Philippines in Diliman.
Let's get the reaction to the closing arguments of the defense and prosecution. We have mobile journalist Arles de los Santos reporting from UP. Arles, sino-sino ang mga nandyan at ano ba ang kanilang reaksyon? Lalong-lalo na nagsalita para sa kanila at maraming binanggit si Attorney Gilbert Andres.
Ses, nandito nga tayo sa University of the Philippines, Diliman, kung saan nga present dito yung mga kaanak ng mga biktima ng madugong war on drugs ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Pero kabukod dyan, nandito rin yung mga mag-anak ng mga umano'y nawawala mga aktivista, mga ikinulong at mga napaslang din, no, sa administrasyon nga ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Para yan sa Justice Watch online viewing ng huling araw ng confirmation of charges laban kay dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Dito nga, Ses, ay pinasinungalingan nila, lalo na ni Nanay Purisima Dacumos, asawa ng biktima ng drug war, ang argumento ng kampo ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte sa ICC na nanlaban umano ang mga napaslang sa war on drugs. Wala raw itong katotohanan dahil ang kanyang asawa ay nasa loob ng kanilang mga tahanan at nagkaroon pa ng senaryo sa labas ng kanilang tahanan ng isagawa ng mga pulis ang operasyon nito, no? Kaya wala raw itong katotohanan. Sa ilan naman ay halo-halo ang kanilang emosyon kung saan ang ilan ay sinariwa ang kinahinatnan ng kanilang mga kamag-anak at itinatanong kung bakit silang mga mahihirap ang mas napuntirya nitong madugong war on drugs at hindi umano yung mga big time o yung malalaking mga drug lords. Kaya mariin silang naniniwala na may sapat na basehan para idiretso sa full-blown trial ang kasong crimes against humanity ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. At anila ay mahalagang hakbang ang confirmation of charges para paganagutin ang dating Pangulo sa pagtapak nito sa mga karapatang pantao sa kanyang administrasyon. Ses.
Kamusta naman ang mga nakaka-trigger ba na maalala nilang muli yung nangyari gawa ng mga argumento na hinahayag sa korte?
Yes, no, para sa kanila sensitibo pa din itong usapin na ito, no, kagaya na lamang ni Nanay Nanette kanina, no, na nagsalita sa isinagawang kilos protesta kaninang hapon, no, na inalala yung kinahinatnan ng kanyang anak na si Aldrin na napas lang noong taong 2017 sa isang operasyon din nga, no, ng war on drugs. Actually, mga nakamotor nga raw yung gumawa nun, no, at hanggang ngayon nagiging nananatiling mailap ang hustisya para sa kanila. Kaya raw nananatili siya na nananalig at handang maghintay para sa hustisya o katarungan sa kanyang anak, no, at ipinapanalangin niya nga rin daw itong si dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte para maging maayos ang kalusugan nito para masiguro makaharap ito sa mga pagdinig at paglilitis laban sa kasong isinampas sa kanya.
Sila ba'y nakakapakinig sa argumento ni Attorney Nicholas Kaufman?
Yes, no, at dito mismo sa may malaking screen dito sa harapan natin, no, at after nga ng 'di ba kanina nagkaroon ng pagkakataon yung depensa na magbigay ng kanilang argumento, and then yung prosecution ay nagbigay ng 10 rebuttals, no. Pagkatapos ng pahayag nito ay nagpalakpakan itong mga kaamag-anak ng drug war victims at hopeful nga talaga sila na may basehan at magpapatuloy itong confirmation of charges laban kay dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte, at handa raw silang maghintay ng 60 araw para malaman ang kahihinatnan nito kung may sapat nga bang mga basehan at sapat ang mga ebidensya para magpatuloy sa full-blown trial. Ses.
Hi, Arles, it's Sean. So 60 days nga no bago magdesisyon, pero ano yung mga may activities pa ba lined up ang Duterte Panagutin Network in the interim, or magkakaroon ulit no nitong Justice Watch pagdating ng 60 days?
Aasahan natin, Sean, na magkaroon tayo ng impormasyon patungkol sa paparating pa nilang mga programa, no, pagkatapos itong confirmation of charges. Pero kanina, pagkatapos ng unang bahagi, no, ng presentasyon ng depensa sa kanilang argumento, ay nagkaroon sila ng candlelighting kung saan muli nilang inilala, binanggit nila yung mga pangalan ng kanilang mga kaanak na nasawi sa war on drugs, no, at ipinanawagan nga ang hustisya para sa kanila. Isa-isa yung binanggit at sama-sama nga, no, na isinigaw yung hustisya para sa umano yung mga pinaslang ng administrasyon ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. At kanina, yun nga, nagkaroon din sila ng kilos protesta, mabilis na programa para ipanawagan ang kanilang posisyon dito. Sean.
Arles, sabi nga kanina ni Attorney Gilbert Andres, sa mga argumento na sinasabi ni Attorney Kaufman, para bang pinapatay niyang muli ang mga namatay sa drug war. Yun ang kanyang naging pagbukas sa kanyang talumpati kanina. Maraming salamat sa iyo, mobile journalist Arles de los Santos there, reporting to us live from UP Diliman. And now we have more stories on this historic hearing at The Hague. Later, we get the insights of former senior Supreme Court Justice Antonio Carpio. The big story will be right back. Keep it here on One News. The big story is back with the final hour of Duterte's pre-trial proceedings happening at around 9 this evening. At this point, we take a look back at this historic hearing at The Hague and the very powerful words that defined it.
We're not gathered here today to judge a man on the basis of his coarse attitude or his vulgar language. This court has convened a confirmation hearing to verify whether substantial grounds exist to believe that Rodrigo Duterte, the people's president, together with various so-called co-perpetrators, over the years of his governance, devised a criminal policy of wholesale and wanton murder. Cases are decided on the basis of evidence, not supposition, not rumor, not spicy gossip, and certainly not on the basis of political rhetoric and bluster.
That if the judges of this honorable chamber can be subjected to online harassment by Duterte clones, we should imagine the level of vulnerability the victims are exposed to in their poor villages. Your Honors, there is only one solution to stop the impunity propagated by Mr. Duterte from continuing to bring harm and suffering to the victims. And that is for this honorable chamber to confirm the charges so that witnesses can testify and evidence can be presented on the horrible crimes committed by Mr. Duterte.
Mr. Duterte's message to the mayors could not be clearer. If your name is in my list, then I'll kill you.
Wala akong ako talaga ang wala akong maipagyabang. Kaya ginadaan ko na lang sa extrajudicial killing.
As at the date of this speech, 9th of January 2017, almost 1,500 people had been killed in Mr. Duterte's so-called war on drugs.
There's one thing that I've learned from the domestic media coverage of this case. It is that journalists and their editors have a tendency to fixate on the salacious elements of a person's speeches while ignoring the less interesting parts. The prosecution has had its opportunity to show you a selection of these speeches and seems to believe that the more they show, the greater the chances of convincing Your Honours to confirm the charges. Mr. Rodrigo Duterte should not remain in detention for years to come simply because the prosecution cannot make out substantial grounds to believe that this individual committed the crimes with which he is charged.
And weighing in on Duterte's confirmation of charges hearing, we have with us retired Supreme Court Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio. Good evening, Justice. Welcome once again to The Big Story.
Good evening. Good evening to our viewers.
Attorney Gilbert Andres quoted from the Supreme Court Notice of Resolution in 2017. You were with the court at that time, Justice?
That is correct.
Mm-hmm. And, this notice of resolution was also quoted by the defense. What do you make of how each side picked excerpts from that decision of the Supreme Court?
Well, they can cherry pick what they think will support their position. Mm-hmm. But in that resolution of the court cited the annual PNP report saying that the PNP reporting to the nation, to the president, that about 20,000 people, a little over 20,000 people have been killed in the war on drugs. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's an official publication, official report to the president. Mm-hmm. That was taken from the website of the Office of the President. Mm-hmm.
And so, what do you think of both sides so far? Who made a better argument?
Well, the prosecution very clearly presented an overwhelming case to proceed with the trial. The evidence that they intend to present, which they cited, are, I think, more than sufficient to take this case to the next step, to the trial proper.
Mm-hmm. And in the case of Attorney Kaufman, did he poke any holes at the case of the prosecution?
No, I don't think he did. Uh, he he was saying that the president was just joking, but we all know that the president repeated these very statements in the hearings at the Senate and at the House, and he repeated these statements under oath. So you cannot say that he was joking because it was under oath. It was a formal proceeding.
And do you think, Justice Carpio, that all three charges will, in fact, be confirmed, or are some charges or arguments made for the charges stronger than others?
Well, I think they will all be confirmed. The evidence that was listed and will be presented by the prosecution is simply overwhelming, and it does not. The list of evidence does not even include the confession under oath by former President Duterte before the Senate and House hearings.
There was much debate and back and forth about the word neutralize and what it really meant.
Yes, well, if you talk to the military, neutralize means to kill. If you talk to the police, neutralize means to kill. And because of that PNP circular to neutralize the drug pushers and drug addicts, thousands of these people were killed extrajudicially. So it was written, and the result was death, extrajudicial killings.
Was it sufficient, Justice, for them to present that circular about the Oplan double barrel and Oplan Tokhang when they said that that did not really connect the dots to President Duterte?
Well, President Duterte said kill, kill, kill. He said pag lumaban, patayin ninyo. Pag hindi lumaban, bigyan ninyo ng baril para lumaban. So he cannot disassociate himself from the war on drugs. That is his flagship project.
Justice Carpio, I wanted to get your thoughts on the co-perpetrators. They were mentioned quite a bit also over the past 4 days. Do you think that it's only a matter of time before cases are also filed against some of them maybe?
Well, you mean warrants of arrest? Yes, that will be automatic. If you are made a co-perpetrator, the warrant of arrest should be issued. But they will publicize that, they will announce that when the co-perpetrator is arrested.
Well, Senator Bato has been waiting for that. In fact, he's been in hiding and now faces an ethics case in the Senate. But the warrant of arrest has not been forthcoming.
No, you cannot say that because they will not publicize it until they arrest the person.
And a lot
So the reason why Senator Bato is not showing up because he believes the warrant of arrest is there already.
Another reason that his attorney, Israelito Torreon, gave us when we spoke to him here about why Senator Bato has not made himself available is because he's also waiting for the Supreme Court to make a ruling to clarify kung ano ba talagang gagawin. Dadaan ba sa local courts or hindi? In your opinion, Justice Carpio, has the Supreme Court actually given enough answer to that?
Right. And if I may add, Sean and Justice, the Senate also wants a resolution, to pass a resolution asking that the local courts prevail before, an arrest warrant is, served.
Well, on the first question, I think the Supreme Court said that unless Senator Bato can show a search warrant, then it will be premature. So I think that was the decision of the court. And in the case of the Senate resolution, it cannot amend the law. The the Republic Act 9851 on the Philippine International Humanitarian Law, which authorizes the government to surrender an accused or a respondent to an international tribunal or to prosecute that accused here in the Philippines. There is a law, and until it is declared unconstitutional, it can be implemented.
I'd like to ask you, Justice, your thoughts while watching the proceedings, because there has been much debate also about whether this should have been heard in the Philippines. And does it sadden you that, we have to rely on an international court to get justice for the victims of the drug war?
Up to now, 3 years after Duterte left, not a single case has been filed against Duterte or the co-perpetrators. There has been no preliminary investigation, no case filed in court. That means that the Philippine authorities are unable or unwilling.
But those are two different things.
That's why ICC took over.
But Justice, those are two different things. Unwilling and unable are different. Do you get a sense that it's more an unwillingness rather than an inability to?
Well, unable means at that time the president was immune from civil or criminal suit, so nobody can file a case against him. That's why there was a constitutional prohibition to sue the president. After he left office, no case was also filed.
What does that say about the state of, justice in the country, our justice system?
That's why the ICC is there, just in case there is a failure by any of the states to prosecute or investigate people who should be prosecuted for crimes against humanity. That's precisely why we have that ICC.
Some quarters are also suggesting justice to amend, maybe make some amendments to RA 9851. That is our law on international humanitarian cases. Do you think it is time that we update that law, RA 9851, and maybe even consider rejoining the ICC?
Well, I think it's better just rejoin the ICC because, we left the ICC by just the act of the president alone. Before you can ratify a treaty under the Constitution, there must be consent by the Senate. So we became a member of ICC by act of the president and consent by the Senate.
Can we still question
But the president alone this time, President Duterte, withdrew without the consent of the Senate. That's the big problem there, because he was interested in protecting himself.
Yes. Yeah.
And can we not
I think we should rejoin.
So it should come from the President BBM, and then the Senate should ratify this. The signal should come from Malacanang.
Yeah, to remove all doubts, the president can sign again the Rome Statute, and that will be ratified by the Senate. The Senate will give its consent.
And if in
So
fact,
there will be no question.
And if in fact, Justice, that the former President Duterte unilaterally, took us out of the ICC, or why did no one question that? Or is it too late for somebody to question that it was not actually ratified by the Senate?
It was actually questioned by Senator Pangilinan at that time in Pangilinan versus Cayetano. And the Supreme Court said, very strange decision really. The Supreme Court said the withdrawal requires Senate consent because it's a law. A treaty is a domestic law once it's consented by the Senate. So to repeal that law you also need the consent of the Senate. But in this case, the Supreme Court said that the Senate did not object. First of all, you cannot create a law without the Senate participating. In other words, if you apply it to accession, if the President signs and the Senate does not do anything, that would mean that we become a member, we ratify. It requires an affirmative act to join or to withdraw. The Senate must give an affirmative act. A bill does not become a law by non-action. There has to be an affirmative act.
Wow. Yes, strange. But before we let you go, Justice Carpio, kamusta na yung debate? Ano na nangyari?
Well, I proposed a topic. He did not agree. Marcoleta did not agree. And he presented his own topic, very complicated. So I said, let's just have a very simple topic. Is there a West Philippine Sea? So that's where it is now.
Okay. All right. We're happy to hear from you, and we're still awaiting if that debate will push through. Retired Supreme Court Senior Associate Justice Antonio Carpio. In the meantime, lawmakers who endorsed impeachment complaints against Vice President Sara Duterte vowed to present new evidence. That's as they face the House Justice Committee on Monday, March the 2nd, as the panel tackles the complaints' form and substance. ACT Teachers Party List Congressman Antonio Tino said they are prepared for the hearing. He gave a sneak peek of what the new pieces of evidence will contain.
Kahit yung complaint natin, in-include natin yung affidavit ni Madriaga. May mga bahagi doon na nakaugnay sa paggamit ng 125 million in 11 days noong December 2022. So yes, may bago dyan na lalabas.
For Akbayan Party List Congressman Percy Sandanya, with or without new evidence, it is imperative for VP Sara to answer all the allegations leveled against her. These include her alleged kill plot against President Bongbong Marcos, his wife and cousin, and her alleged misuse of confidential funds.
This is not a case of whether the allegations are new or old. Ito ay kaso ng hindi pa rin nasasagot ang aligasyong ito. And if Sara Duterte is good at something, it is at running away from accountability.
And in related news, one member of the National Unity Party, or NUP, is confident that the complaints against the vice president will actually hurdle the House. That is, even after the NUP put out a statement that it will likely vote against the vice president's ouster. NUP Chairman Ronnie Puno has already walked back his party's own statement, which was signed by Secretary General Reginald Velasco. Puno clarified that NUP members will vote based on their conscience when the time comes. NUP member and Manila 2nd District Congressman Rolando Valeriano tells our sister program Storycon that Velasco's statement is not the party stand.
Siguro po nagkaroon lang ng konting miscommunication or misunderstanding ko sa statement in which last night nilinaw naman po ni DS Puno na ang ibig niya sabihin talaga it's a conscience vote po. And even before naman po, marami na akong istorya sa National Unity Party. Wala naman po talagang nagtitikta sa amin doon. Unang-una nga po, iba-iba ng pag-iisip din yung mga kongreso. At even yung 305 o 310 members po, I still believe that they will vote based on their conscience and based what is right and what is just. Yun po ang nakikita ko dyan.
Political observers have a sense that it will be much harder this time around to garner the necessary 1/3 votes from the House to approve the complaints. Lawmakers may be thinking twice after the Vice President announced her presidential bid for 2028. But Valeriano is confident that they have the numbers.
Marami na rin po ako naririnig na ayon sa, in favor of impeachment. Kaya I think makakakuha po ng 105 dahil 300, 1/3 lang po eh. Mukhang kaya po makuha sa Kongreso yun. Ayon sa pagkakabasa ko, halos wala naman pong naiba doon sa nakaraang taon At kung matatandaan nyo po, hindi naman tinakil ng Supreme Court yung laman
Yung
ng
merits,
impeachment. So,
Mm.
pero kami po, nabasa na ho na, medyo naiba lang yung style, pero still believe yung magic number na 105, kaya pong makuha. And even sa Committee on Justice, naniniwala ako na magkakaroon ng substance and sa forms.
You're still watching the big story here on One News, and coming up, some fun and later fighting words from the palace press officer to the Vice President and former President Duterte's lead counsel. Hear them in full when we return. Stay tuned.
Why does Duterte's lead counsel Nicholas Kaufman keep on name-dropping President Marcos in his arguments? This was the palace's reaction to the defense lawyer's latest statements in his presentation of merits. Yesterday, Kaufman made reference to drug-related killings data under the Marcos administration. Kaufman asked ICC prosecutors if Marcos will also be investigated for this. Palace Press Officer Ter Castro's reaction to this: Kaufman should file the proper cases before Philippine courts if he believes violations were committed in the present administration's drug war.
Pag-amin ba yun na talaga may patayan sa panahon ni dating Pangulong Duterte? Unang-una, nakakapagtaka na ang kliyente po niya rito ay ang dating Pangulong Duterte. Pero bakit ang mata niya nakafocus kay Pangulo Marcos Jr.? Depensa po ba niya to? Kasi kung depensa po niya ito, nakakatawa. Pero kung may basihan ang sinasabing ito, ang Pangulo, alam po natin, ayaw po ng marahas na paglaban sa illegal na droga.
Castro, however, clarified that she has no plans to formally invite Kaufman to the Philippines, but will welcome him should he choose to visit. Just on Thursday, Kaufman expressed willingness to travel to Manila to discuss the interim release of Duterte with the Marcos administration. In response, Castro said that discussion is off the table, but she would be more than happy to treat Kaufman as a tourist.
First of all, I'm not inviting him. If ever, everybody is welcome to see the beauty of our country. Welcome man, lahat ng turista, pati pamilya, kasama yan. And if he will be coming to the Philippines, I am more than happy to treat him. Buy him balut, bagoong, kwek-kwek, ayudi, Adidas. But I will not discuss about the interim release because it has already been dissolved by the ICC. So pag-uusapan lang namin ang ganda ng Palawan, El Nido, Manila Zoo, lahat po yan. Yun lang po.
Castro was also asked about a recent statement made by Vice President Sara Duterte. For the first time in a long while, Castro did not directly criticize the VP. In an event in Davao, Sara reflected on her decision to team up with Marcos instead of running for a local post in her bailiwick of Davao City.
Mas maganda po nga sana kung nanatili na lamang siyang mayor sa Davao City at nahalal natin ang isang vice-presidente na tutulong sana sa ating Pangulo. Hindi isang vice-presidente na magtatrabaho, mag-aaksyon at hindi bakasyon at hindi puro paninira ang gagawin sa ating Pangulo.
Castro, however, was on the offensive again when asked about Duterte's claim that the administration was going after groups that support her.
Mismo ang dating Pangulong Duterte ang nagsabi na may mga pagkakataon na ang vice-presidente ay sinungaling. Ipapakita ko po ang isang article at binanggit din po ni dating Pangulong Duterte na ang kanyang anak na si VP Sara ay isang drama queen. Dito, pinasinungalingan niya mismo ang sinabi ng dating Mayor Sara Duterte sa isang issue ito. So, kailan pa ba natin paniniwalaan ang mga sinasabi ng Vice Presidente kung mismo ang kanyang ama ay sinasabing siya ay nagsisinungaling?
The Vice President has yet to react to these statements from Yusek Castro. Kapatid Mobile Journal Julie Baiza, We're One News.
Here are the other stories making headlines this last Friday of February, beginning with a leadership change at the Environment Department. President Bongbong Marcos has appointed DENR Secretary Rafael Lutilla as the new Philippine ambassador to the Holy See. His Undersecretary Juan Miguel Cuna will serve as acting environment chief during the transition. Palace Press Officer Claire Castro clarified Lutilla did not resign and requested for a, quote, lighter assignment.
Meantime, Mount Canlaon's moderately explosive eruption last night has rocked Negros Occidental once again. This morning, Canlaon emitted grayish plumes that rose 1,000 meters, covering several areas in the province, including this one in the town of La Castellana. The DOH Negros Island region immediately distributed 16,095 masks to affected residents. Alert Level 2 remains in effect over the volcano.
Now on to another volcano, this time Mayon. A pyroclastic density current event hit the Albay Mountain just this afternoon. Alert Level 3 prevails over Mayon, with residents prohibited from entering the 6-kilometer permanent danger zone.
And in business, Pag-ibig members should expect higher returns as the state-run fund declares 64.34 billion pesos in dividends for 2025. This is Pag-ibig's biggest payout in its 45-year history. With this, regular savings dividend rate is now up to 6.62%, while modified Pag-ibig 2 or MP2 savings rate have climbed to 7.12%. Pag-ibig says this reflects a, quote, solid financial position and strong performance.
In other news, the National Bureau of Investigation wants a joint affidavit of 18 former soldiers who claim to be former bagmen of resigned Congressman Zaldico. NBI Director Melvin Matibag says his bureau has the primary responsibility to probe the accusations. Chief among them are kickback deliveries worth 805 billion pesos supposedly made to several politicians, including President Marcos. Lawyer Levi Baligod has already submitted a soldier's affidavit to the ombudsman yesterday.
Narinig ko dun sa inyo, sinasabi ni Attorney Baligod na ang pwede lang kasing mag-imbestiga dito sa issue na to ay mayroon lang jurisdiction, ombudsman. But with all due respect kay Attorney Baligod, dalhin sana nila dito yung issue. That is something na within our mandate. Kaya I gave a directive already to investigate. We have initial findings that unahan ko na, hindi ko pa pwedeng ilabas sa inyo because of the sensitivity, But we have findings already.
Meantime, personalities being implicated in the money delivery scheme are threatening to sue. National Security Advisor Eduardo Año is among them. Año accused of receiving a paper bag full of money, called the allegation laughable.
And let's end the show this week on a light note, shall we? The MVP Group brought together artists from different networks for its first All-Star Celebrity Basketball game. News 5's MJ Marfuari tells us more.
From courtside to the hard court, star power filled every corner of showbiz and sports at the first ever MVP Olympics All-Star Celebrity Basketball game. One of the scene-stealing moments was the fun exchange between Herlene Budol and Bol Bol before the game started. MQAA stars were also present. The celebrity ballers impressed the audience, proving they're not just good actors, they're also fierce on the court, like JC De Vera, David Licauco, Dylan Minor, and Lance Gar, who scored the most points in the game.
It's actually a dream come true. Kasi dati nung grade school ako, high school, I've always wanted to be a player, basketball player, professionally. But yeah, I'm very happy to play in Araneta and to play with so many great and talented artists.
Despite an injury, Derek Ramsey still played for the white team. But before the game, Derek ran in an interview to give an update about his personal life.
Yeah, I don't want to comment about any of that noise online. For me, my focus is really my time with my daughter. I'm at peace, and I just, and in time, everything will be okay.
The halftime show was also star-studded with production numbers from the cast of Baguettes the Musical, Jed Badella, and Jonah. A Secret in Prague star Andrea Brillantes heated up the dance floor with G-Force in her Super Bowl-level performance. She was even surprised by co-star Enrique Hill with a bouquet of flowers after. And the audience also watched an exclusive first look of A Secret in Prague. Exciting!
Medyo nararamdaman ko na yung pressure.
Exactly. Siyempre nakaka-pressure. It's been a while since I've been on TV. And of course to be back on primetime, going head-to-head with other shows. I'm just happy. I'm really confident with our concept.
Back to the ball game, and it was a close match between the two teams, but in the end, Team Blue won 60-59. Player of the game was Wendell Ramos, who shot the winning free throw. The event was led by Metro Pacific's Investments Corporation and MVP Olympics head Shea Cabal Revilla. MVP Group Chairman Manny V. Pangilinan was also present.
It's a real basketball game and a number of good players.
The goal of the MVP Olympics is to strengthen teamwork, sportsmanship, and camaraderie within the organization and across the industry. That's why it is important for the MVP Group to bring together players from different networks.
We belong to one country, one family, one brotherhood, one heart. So we should help each other.
Stay tuned for the next MVP Olympics. MJ Marfuari, we are One News.
On that note, that's it for us this week.